All right, let's go ahead and begin. So the reason that I wanted to toss this together tonight is I've been getting some questions, and totally understandable. We recently added in a new indicator into the package, and I wanted to walk through it with everyone because I've been getting some questions on how to use it. And I don't really have a whole lot of material on it out there right now, so the questions are valid. But the reason that we added this in was pretty simple. For the last several years, we've been really focused on stocks and on forex. Stocks and forex trade, very differently than futures. Now, I realize, launching to NinjaTrader, where NinjaTrader is really a futures platform, I would expect a lot of futures traders, and it seems like that's really been kind of the overwhelming majority, specifically people who are day trading. So what I wanted to do is walk through, if you're going to be a day trader, or if you are day trading, I shouldn't say if you're going to be, if you're day trading, what are some of the things that you can do with what you have at your disposal? So the first thing that I want to walk through is, this is what you guys see on the screen right now is the Pro package, which, as you guys know, we're only charging $37 a month for it. We're not looking to get rich, selling this indicator. What we're looking to do is build a community of people who are experienced traders or even new traders, and can take some of the knowledge that they have and apply this with, really stacking it on top of a lot of the things that they already do today. And so we've already found, I've had several Skype calls with some of you, and some really interesting calls. And these new zones have, what I found, have already been very useful for some of you. We have one guy in particular who his exact response. So today was really the first time he traded them for the full trading day, and his response was that they're awesome. And he trades a 2-minute chart. I'm going to walk you through really kind of what that looks like on a 2-minute chart. But for now, I'm gonna stick to a tick chart, because I know there's a lot of people here that are interested in the tick charts. So let me right click here, and let's go to indicators. I'm going to walk you guys through exactly what I have on here. So I've got the buy sell zones. This is what you guys actually have access to today. Those of you who are on the free version, you guys have these, and here are the settings I'm using. If you're going to be day trading, what I've seen is using 3 for your min, lower closes is potentially a better setting than what I typically use for stocks, which is 1. And then I have the trend, and I have 2 different trend indicators. One of them is, it measures the market structure, and I have that on here applied 2 times. And with that trend indicator, you have the ability to look at different time frames. So this specific one, even though it's labeled 1 minute, you can ignore that. I was testing a 1 minute earlier, but it is actually going to be the chart time frame that I'm using, which is a 987 tick chart. And the reason I know that is because I don't have this box up here checked. If I check that box, then I can apply whatever time frame I want on this chart. So I'm using the same settings here, 3. And then I also applied a 5 minute. I'm going to go ahead and change the title of this one while I'm in here. And you can label them here so you don't get confused, by the way. All right, and then I apply what is called the trend direction. And this is a momentum trend. So what we're doing is we're adding momentum on top of market structure. So this momentum, I'm doing the same thing. I'm applying it twice. One of them is a 3 minute. Here are my settings. Ticks above move, because I don't the market can be very choppy. So I don't want it to be too aggressive when it changes trends. So I'm requiring 4. If I were trading stocks, that would be much higher. And then I'm also using a 5-minute, again, using 4 for ticks above move. And then finally, I have these things called the auction zone. So the auction zone, it's a momentum-based strategy. I shouldn't call it a strategy. It's a pattern. It measures strength of a move as well as some bar patterns. And it prints these zones that you see on the chart. Now, what I've done here, because I don't want that many zones, otherwise I'm going to go crazy trying to figure out where I want to be a trader or where I want to be trading, I'm using a 2-minute. So I am overlaying the 2-minute zones onto this chart. And where you see the shaded region, what that does is it shades the top of a green zone. So this area here, there's 2 lines. It's a zone. Okay, it's shading the top just because you're not always going to get a perfect move back to the zone. So this channel ticks. I'm shading 2 ticks above on the green and 2 ticks below on the red. All right, so that's what I have applied on this chart. Now we're going to walk through this real quick. Well, ATR is utilized for the ATR is just a standard NinjaTrader indicator. Everything else, backtest assist, this is what I use to backtest. It allows me to backtest in about 4 times faster than if I were doing it on a spreadsheet. Everything else you see on here outside of the ATR are all TBN, yes. All right, let's go. Let's just start at the beginning of this trading day. All right. Trading day starts at 8:30. So here we are. So the way that I look at this is I want to be very specific on where I'm going to take trades. And I want to make sure that, at a minimum, I have some of the trends in my favor. I don't necessarily need them all in my favor, but I do prefer to have the momentum in my favor. Momentum are going to be my top 2. The market structure will be my bottom 2. But more importantly, I want to understand, what do I have in my favor or what do I have against me? So for example, if I'm looking for a long, let's just go back to right here. This is a good example. So if I'm looking for a long out of this zone, potentially, what I want to understand is, what do I have against me? And it doesn't take very long to see that I have a red zone right here. I don't have very much room to go. Oh, I'm sorry, Chris. I misread your question. Yours are going to be called something. So you should have the TBN market structure trend. You should have the TBN trend direction. You should have the TBN auction zones, and then the TBN buy sell zone overlap. Please confirm if you just let me know. You make sure you have those. What are you missing? Let's figure that out, and then we'll walk through. So if you're a pro subscriber, you should have this group. You should have the TBN buy sell zones, TBN overlap, the TBN market structures trend, TBN trend direction, and then TBN auction zones. Some people have them, Taylor. I got an email today. It looked like they just appeared on someone's machine. Okay, so the market structure then will come with this new. Okay, so the market structure will come with this new. We're going to send out the new release then, and that will also include the market structure trend. So this will answer questions ahead of time then. So we'll get that out to everybody. So be on the lookout. Okay, let's jump back here. Again, I want you guys to understand, I'm not trying to give you guys a system for day trading because I actually don't have one. All right, I have not tested this, but I'm going to walk you guys through and you can kind of get an idea of at least the way that I look at charts. I do this when I'm trading stocks, but it's very different. Right? I'm trading daily and weekly charts. I'm in the middle of working on a 60-minute strategy that wouldn't require me to be in a trade for so long, but it's not ready yet. What I can tell you is when you have room to move between zones, the market seems to do much better than when you're in a situation where you have a bunch of stuff against you. Here is case in point. All right. So we have a green zone here. We have a fresh red zone up here. And then we have a red zone that prints here. If I'm taking a long here, I'm trading right into this. I'm not saying it's not going to work out. We're going to see plenty of examples tonight where that does work out. But the question is, what gives you the best chance of success? And so when I look at the charts here, I'm thinking, how much room do I have between these? And one of my students who's been very successful in futures for the last several years, he requires 3 points. He wants 3 points of room between his entry and whatever zone is against him. So whatever that next zone is, he'll still trade it as long as he has 3 points. And he takes a lot of trades. He takes like 30 trades a day, which, hey, more power to him. It seems like a lot. All right. The other thing, the way I look at an entry is I am either going to use, so these blue candles here, they're either a bar pattern or they're just a green up candle that happens when you're inside of a zone. Okay. I would take one of these blue candles and my entry would be 2 ticks above the high. That's how I would enter a trade. But that's how I do it with stocks. I'm not suggesting that's what you do with futures. I'm just giving you guys some ideas. Okay. So we move up in here. We have some, we move into a sell zone, but you can see both of my momentum trends are green, right? So it may not be a trade that I want to take. However, I do not have anything until I get down here. Okay, we push through this red zone. We come into a green zone here. Again, at this point in time, I am against the trend, but if we look at this, I have plenty of room up to this zone up here, right? So again, if you have a system that tells you to engage or gives you that you have comfort with, this may give you an added edge. See, the gentleman that I was talking to this morning, that's what he's doing. He's taking these auction zones and he's using it to look for confluence against what he's doing. And it sounds like it actually overlays really well for him. All right. So again, we then print another auction zone here. And at this point in time, you can see I actually have 3 green trends. Okay. Right when I come into this zone, this for me right here, if I were trading stocks, this is a signal bar for me. It's a hammer pattern. Very simple, right? And I'll give you the actual rules that I use for hammers. For a hammer candle, actually, I posted them all on YouTube. So if you want to go look at YouTube, feel free. They're in there. It has a lower shadow and no upper shadow. The shadow is the wick is either the wick here or the wick on the top. So it's a lower shadow with no upper shadow, and that shadow length is equal to or greater than the width of the body. The body is the open and close. So this would be a signal bar for me. And I'm going to use this as a signal bar until I either get a close below the low or I get my entry 2 ticks above the high, which would be right there. So that's how I play. That's how I play this on stocks. I would do futures no different if it were me trading. And you can see at the time of my signal bar, I have green momentum, green trend, and neutral. So I don't have any trend against me. And I have room from here, from 45.52 up to 45.63. It's plenty of room for me. And this ends up turning out to be a really nice trade. All right, so this would be, again, this is the trick that with the zones. You got to start, instead of seeing the number of zones on the chart, you got to start seeing what's directly in front of you while you're looking for a trade. And at this point in time, I am only paying attention to the zones here and then what's above me. All right, so we move back down into this zone. Now I have a zone here. So I've got to be more careful. And as we start coming down, looking for a signal bar, I don't have anything. I don't have anything. And so we just keep going lower, right? And now I'm looking at a situation where I only have one of the trends in my favor. So I'm going to continue moving on. We move into a sell zone. I don't have anything below me. I have trends in my favor. So I would look for a potential short here. But I don't get an entry. It literally just goes right through. All right. Then we come up here. Again, I have bearish, bearish, neutral, neutral. Nothing below me here. So I would start looking to engage a short here. Here's a signal bar for me. Actually, this would be 1, 2. Either way, they all get in at the same price, which would be 2 ticks below the low, which would be right here. And for me personally, I like to use the ATR for my stop. It allows me to predefine my risk. So my entry is going to end up being, so here's my signal bar. There's my entry at 40 to 45.62 quarter. I'm going to be short. So that's what this trade potentially would look like for me. All right. So I would end up getting stopped out right on that move right there. And then I would just move on, look for my next potential trade. At this point, I have nothing. And now we get we chop for a while, then we get a nice move. And now I'm in a situation where you can see these are old zones, but for me, they're still important because I want to see, I don't know how far back that zone goes. Oh, it's a ways. Several days. But you can see it still ends up being important, right? Look what happens. Even though we're ripping higher through here, price just hits it and it just dies, right? So we go sideways and then we come down. But here we go. I've got a situation, right? I have bullish, bullish, neutral, and I've got a zone here. So again, I'll probably be sitting on my hands. And you can see it does end up pushing through, but it's just not a trade I would be able to take. And you see there's where we start getting super choppy, right? This is a pretty ugly area if you're a day trader, right? You have an hour here where you're just going sideways, and we can see why, right? This is the beautiful thing about having these zones on your chart. You can see why. You can see how much different it is from, if you don't have anything below you or above you like we had back here, versus now we're in a situation where we don't really have a lot of room here to be taking trades. And you can see prices continues going sideways, bumping up against all these zones. So for me, this is a spot where I probably just want to be sitting on my hands. I'd be better off. I mean, how many of you could actually predict this kind of action? And maybe some of you could. Maybe there's some divergence techniques out there that would actually do really well in this chop, but this is pretty ugly. All right, so now you can see what happens here. We end up pushing through and heading higher. Now, what I want to highlight, I want to highlight something real quick. What do we see in this area that might clue us in that our direction is most likely to head higher? I mean, let's just look, specifically I'm looking at this area here. Even though we have some resistance above us, if we look left, we can see that the direction of this move, we had a strong move up. That doesn't necessarily mean anything, right? Other than potentially that we have momentum in our favor during this move. But when you're day trading, that can easily turn around and just head directly back the other way. I'll tell you what I see. And this is why I really love a combination of market structure and momentum. In addition, we're looking at multiple time frames, right? So right here, I have overlap. I have an overlap between my market structure and the momentum. I don't have an overlap up on the top of this momentum zone, but I have it down here. I'm within one tick of that zone. So for me, personally, this is where I would want to look to engage a trade. Now, here's how I would have played it. My first entry is going to be, let me see, is this a up bar or down bar? That's a down bar. All right. So my first entry is going to actually come above this bar high right here by 2 ticks. So I'm going to get in right there. So that's what this trade for me would look like. I would enter here. My stop's going to go down here. This is end up being a big target because it looks like we have a pretty big ATR. That triggered my MFE. Hold on. Let me reset this up. All right, so that's what it would look like for me. And I would just sit back. Because right now, I don't have any data that tells me when I need to move to break even and when I need to start trailing. Like, I do that with stocks, but I don't have enough to tell me in future. So I would just sit back and just let this thing just run. And there we go, right? So on this specific trade, I would have been in here. So we're looking at 45.74 quarter to 45.92. And more importantly, I'm in this trade for almost an hour and a half, which means I'm not getting messed up in this chop. So that's what that trade would look like for me. Now we get up here, we get another auction zone. I don't have anything above me. I will tell you this comes with a caveat that I have not tested this yet to know whether after a winning trade, if I just need to just reload and fire again, or sometimes what I used to do when I was day trading futures is I would wait for what I call a reset. That reset for me means whatever the last zone to print is, I want to see that zone taken out before I take another trade. Now, if it does bounce off of here and continues higher, then if a new zone prints, I'll wait for that zone to be taken out before I engage another trade. But again, I don't have any idea whether that is beneficial or if it hurts me. So we'll just assume that we're just gonna reload and we're gonna fire again. All right. So my next trade would actually just come out of this zone right off of this green bar. And it looks like I would get taken out. I get stopped out here, in which case I would just reload and I would take it again right here. So there we go. So here, in this situation, there's actually a benefit to just reload and fire again. I take a loss, it's okay. I fire again. Now, I do have a rule that I do not let myself take more than 3 losses in a zone. Once I have 3 losses, that zone is dead to me. And I just move on. And you can see here, now we go up to this next zone. I mean, another idea here, you could almost trade this zone to zone because the market does tend to fill those voids, right? I don't know how old this zone is, but you can see it's just trading between these. And you can see that's where it fails. So think about this, guys. If you have a system that you do for counter trend trading that you feel comfortable with, I'm not a good counter trend trader, so it's not for me personally. But this can give you some really good areas. You have some pretty strong resistance up here. And again, I don't know where it comes from, but it's, I mean, we could go back and find it if we really wanted to, but it's obviously there. And then look what happens here. Now, if I had, hypothetically, let's just say I had at least 2 red momentums down here, this zone confirms right here on this bar, immediately comes back into it right there. There's no reason why you couldn't short that. You have room from here down to here. There's no reason you couldn't short that. But it's not, I don't have confluence there. So I wouldn't take a trade. Now, here's a situation where I do have confluence, right? I have a market structure zone and I have an auction zone. So for me, I'm getting red trends. This is an area that I would think about taking a short. Now, I am getting close to the end of the trading day. So that's also something to consider. And I also know that I got a really nice move out of here, but let's just see what happens. So price comes into it and you get an immediate reaction. Surprise, surprise, right to our other zone. So let me ask you something. If you're taking this trade and you see this reaction, I mean, you're down here for about 2 minutes, 3 minutes, right here. You have plenty of time to make a decision. Are you moving to break even? I mean, it may not be a bad idea, right? Because you do know that you only have this amount of space. Okay. Now we get up here and now I have even less room. So would I want to engage another trade? Because that zone confirms on this candle right there. I mean, probably not. It may work out, but it just seems too close to me, and we'll see what happens. And there you go. You end up actually, well, it just goes choppy. I would personally rather just sit on my hands and just let the market play out here. You can see what happens. It's the same thing. Does it look at all familiar with that action back here? I mean, it's interesting, right? When you have room, this thing will move. See, look. Why not just wait for this? Problem is, many traders feel like they always have to be doing something. Never forget that being flat is actually a position. All right, so you can see where this thing held, right? Now we're going to get into the overnight action. But you can see this thing chopped around here until, guys, look, until I now have confluence here as well. I have confluence. I have market structure zones. In fact, two of them. And I have an auction zone right here. But I also had confluence here. So the question is, which direction is it going to go? Well, who the hell knows? We can see in this specific situation, look what happened. It goes up, clears away those zones. Now look, we have trends in our favor. Well, not on my signal bar. On my signal bar, it looks I've got 2 market structure trends in my favor. The momentum's against me. But I do have room. Not a lot of room, but enough to be able to make a decision. Like if I want to move to break even, I definitely have my 3 points, right? I'm at 97. I've got 7 points here. Plenty of room. And here we go. And look at this. Now we have 4 trends. This is overnight. We moved right back in right here. Not a ton of room, but do keep in mind, this is an older zone. We're just clearing out space, right? We're just filling those voids is all we're doing at this point. We move in here. Now, again, you could be careful here, but we have our room, right? We have 4 points, plenty of room. Boom. Price just rips. And now we're clearing space. So we're setting up very well for the next trading day, in my opinion. We're clearing out all this room. And this thing is ripping. All right, where's the next trading day start? Oh, here we go. Here's our next trading day. 8:30. All right, here. All right, so market opens. I'm going to wait for a fresh zone. This zone was already here. I've got I've got 1 red, neutral, and 2 green. So not really interested. I don't have any confluence there. There's nothing there that interests me. Okay, we come into the red zone. If we get within 2 ticks of this zone, I would take a trade because this is an old zone for me, and I'm all green. So 46.58. 3 ticks, no trade. I'm very disciplined. All right, here we go. Perfect. Look at this confluence. I have confluence here. See if I can blow this chart up a little bit. We come in here to the penny. I've got all green zones. I have, really all these are pretty much signal bars. So you just pick your poison for, my first one is the one I always take. Here's my first signal bar. It's a spinning top. So I'm going to enter this trade 2 ticks above, which is going to be right here. So here's my entry. Why did that give me a long? Must have my hotkey hit. It's going to give me an entry. This was my signal bar. So I always use the bar directly to the left of the signal bar for my ATR. So that's what it looks like. So I'd be in here. I'd have a stop here. And I'd have a target up here. Now, do I have 3 points? Well, let's just see. Oh, yeah, easily. All right. And there we go. I'm out of the trade. The trade didn't take very long. It took 10 minutes. Good trade. So again, that's one where I have confluence and I had all 4 trends in my favor. So as now, again, we are in a spot where we have an old zone. This one's going to be very old at this point. Again, I'm not a counter trend trader, but for those who are, if you have an entry technique, might be a place to start looking. But again, I personally prefer not to do that. However, let's look here. See, this changes things a little bit for me. What's happening? I'm in an old zone. And I get a momentum zone in my favor to the downside. It overlaps with a structure zone. Now, I have a million things against me here, okay? The trend is ripping. However, I have room. I have a lot of room, actually. So if I want to engage a short here against the trend, might not be a bad place to do it. So let's just see what happens. All right, price comes in here. Let's play this out. Here's my first signal bar. It's a spinning top. I know it's a green spinning top, but I am fine taking a green one. What I want is that wick at the top. So I'm going to enter 2 ticks below. My trade's going to look something like that. So however many contracts I can trade with this kind of a stop, that's what I would do. And we'll just let it go. And you can see that gets really choppy. So I would end up getting stopped out. Now, I get stopped out here. I still have plenty of room. So let's just go ahead and reload. This one's going to get bad because my ATR just went nuts. So yeah, that's fun. But look, I don't have anything below me. We'll just see what happens. Look at that. That is a hell of a trade, actually. It'll look bigger than that. It's 10 points. But you know what? That's still $500, right? When you think about it, and now you're done for the day, right? Because now we're at 2:30. There's no time left. But you think about that day, it actually was a pretty relaxed day for the most part, right? We had a winner here, we had a loss here, and then a winner here. And these aren't just guys, these aren't regular winners. These aren't scalps. These are big freaking trades. Like, I mean, it's honestly, it's a pretty relaxed way to trade. At least I feel that way in stocks. All right, so now here we have a situation now where we do have confluence here. I would expect price to hold if we came back in. However, I don't have as much room, but I also have confluence here, right? But I don't have any room between these 2 points. But I do like trading anywhere that I have the confluence. So for me personally, I know it's too close to the end of the day. Let's just say that I had plenty of time in the trading day. I would trade here. And I would trade here. Yeah, either or. If it starts failing here, I'd probably want to get out. Maybe look for it to go short. But look what happens. You can see it bounces, and I would get smoked. But keep in mind, so the reason that zone is still printing, you guys remember what time frame is that zone from? It's from a 2-minute. So it's still valid. Now, what did happen was I lost my confluence. So I'm not saying I would take a trade here. I wouldn't. I would have ended up taking a loss. But again, like we talked about, we are at the end of the trading day, which is unpredictable. It feels like you always get crazy moves. Now we come into this area where we have some confluence, and you can see we just go right through. All right. Now let's see what day are we on? All right. So now let's go look at today. So, all right. So we've got a bunch of resistance up above here. You can see all of the different zones. So again, if you're a counter trend trader, this is where you might want to start looking. You had overlap here. Didn't quite get to the overlap area here, but it was close. You have all kinds of resistance up here. This is where you might want to start looking. Now you start getting some momentum zones. We have a buy zone here, but we don't have any room in here, right? Looks like it's going to want to go. We have our trends in our favor. Again, just no room. And it goes down. All right. Yeah. So again, this might be a good spot to potentially, well, I would not be trading back here. One, it's too early in the morning. And two, I had all the trends against me. So there's no way I would have been taking a trade back here. The market opens right in this area. I have all the trends against me, so I wouldn't be shorting. Now I would expect chop through here. To be honest, I would have been tempted to take a long here. That would not have worked out. All right. Now I don't have anywhere to go through here. So I would just be sitting on my hands because I don't have any confluence here and I don't have the trends in my favor. So I'm not going to be doing anything. Okay, here we come down here. I don't, I have an auction zone, but I don't have confluence. Here I have confluence and it looks like my trends are changing. So this is where I would be looking for a potential trade. And it looks like a little choppy, but it works out. And look at this one. So here again, a situation where I have the trends in my favor. I have nothing until here. So I have plenty of room. Here's what that trade looks like. Okay, it's going to chop around. That's okay. I'm going to be in this thing for a while, right? Because this entry is at 10:30. I'm already moving into noon, so it's already an hour and a half, and I'm still in this trade. And there we go. We get our target. So this trade, you get 11 points out of it, 10 and a half. All right. So now we have confluence here. And look, my trends are changing. I know that I don't have any room because I'm inside of a green zone. I would be extremely tempted to take a short here. Let's just say we take it. All right, where's my entry? Here's a red bar. I don't get filled. Here's a signal bar. I don't get filled. So it looks like my next entry would be up here. We'll get in right there and we get stopped. So the trade stops us out. Now we just keep rolling. Again, here we go, going sideways. I would do nothing here. I don't have any room. I'm not going to take any longs. And then that would be the end of the day. So this day I would have had a win and a loss. But you can see, look, if we wanted to be really particular, I mean really particular, almost to the point of maybe even being a little bit boring. Isn't this the only place that we had confluence and the trends lined up and we had nothing above us? I don't know about you guys, but if this was the only trade I took that day, today, I would have been happy with it. And what's my commission, right? I'm paying $5 per contract. I mean, you get the point, right? Like if you're patient and you're waiting, I know. Look, when you're looking at charts and you're looking at something you're not used to, it's easy to see a mess, but you got to be able to see through it, right? It's seeing the trees through the forest. That's what we're doing here. And you can see it here, right? I'm not going to take this. I have no reason to take this. It ends up being a great trade. But how the hell would I have known that? Not unless my testing tells me, okay, this is where I need to engage. I don't have that right now. What I can tell you is this confluence is amazing. And it looks great. I could show you chart after chart after chart after chart where this looks good. Now, I will tell you this, and this is going to be really exciting. So we are in the middle of working on some features for these zones. Look, it may take us a little bit to get these done. We need to build it and we got to test it. But in my mind, the zones are missing a couple things. One, I want to know how many zones I have against me. So when this thing prints, this green zone, I want to know how many zones, current day zones, do I have against me? How many zones, prior day zones, do I have against me? Give me a number, right? How far is the next zone in percent terms? So what's the percent move to the next zone? Or I don't know how relevant that is, to be honest, but how many ATRs away is that next zone, right? Because if I'm trading to make a 6 ATR move, isn't it relevant how close that next zone is going to be to me? And maybe if I hit that zone, it's time to move to break even. Just let the trade go from there, because I'm in a sense, have a risk-free trade outside of my trading fees. But like, say for example, right here, once this zone is taken out, could I know now that my next zone is 6 ATRs away? And then when I'm testing and I'm doing a big back test, I could then go through and I can look at it to say when I have, I'm just making stuff. Look, I'm just flying off the cuff here, guys. When I have 2 trends in my favor out of the 4, and I have a 6 ATR move between my zones, my chances of winning that trade are X. And then I would know, all right, at this spot here, I have a 50% chance of making $3 if I risk 1. How many of you here would take that trade? If you had a 50% chance to win a trade, and if you win, you're making 3. If you lose, you're losing $1. How many here would take that trade? right? I mean, sign me. I would take as many of those freaking trades as I possibly could. But see, that's what we're building here, guys. The ability to have this level of visibility. It's just like here. Look, I have an overlap. I have 3 trends in my favor, and I have more than enough room to move. Why not? Look, check this out. And we may have covered some of this already. I gotta find my chart. That's not it. Yeah. All right. So this is a weekly chart. The only thing that I want to show on here, and I have no idea what this chart even looks like, but I'm gonna guess a couple things. When I have room to move, my moves look a lot cleaner than when I don't. Now, keep in mind, I don't short stocks, so ignore anything that's red because I just don't do it. I don't care how bearish the stock is. It's just not something I do. All right, here we go. This is perfect. Look, okay, so let's just look at this action. All right, so we're back in 1997, guys. Now, if there were red zones back here, I don't have them clearly because I don't have any data past this. So let's just ignore that. But look at this. Here we've got 6 years. Oh my gosh, 6 years where this thing, once it gets to this red zone, look what happens. But down here, even though I'm at the bottom, once I break through this sell zone, I've got nothing but room here, right? Until we get up here. You can see the move it takes, gets up there very nicely. Now, if you're a trader and you're somebody that wants to maybe trade, say you want to go down to a 60-minute chart because you don't want to be in a trade that lasts for 400 days. Well, wouldn't it be nice to have a scanner that would tell you anytime you have a zone like this and you have plenty of room between here and here? Isn't that where you'd want to engage? And if you think about this, how many stocks are out there? Thousands. You're always going to be able to find something. But then when I get up here, you see, I have nothing. So this stock literally would be off my radar from 2002 to 2006. Now it's back on my radar. Okay. So this is just before the financial crisis. I bet it's going to get pretty ugly here in a second. But we don't know that at the time, right? When we're trading this hard right edge, we have no idea that's coming. So I would, if price came back into here, I'd be ready to engage. Oh, but look, I can't now. See, it's off my list. I can't take any trades in here. And look how ugly this is. I'm taking nothing. I'm okay missing all of this, but that's interesting, guys. Look at that. Look where the bottom of the crash ended. Right here where we have confluence. It's pretty interesting. Probably coincidental, but whatever. Anyway, again, I'm not taking anything until we're done with all this junk. Now, look, I'm out. And I have some confluence down here. So if I'm looking for a trade, this would pop up on a scanner. It is an awesome coincidence. This would pop up on a scanner. I'd be looking for a trade here. And look what happens. Guys, this is what we do, right? This is, look at, and wouldn't it be nice? I mean, this is where we get our moves. Why would I want to find any stock that doesn't fit this criteria? It makes no sense. I'm not going to win them all. Gosh, I only have to win 40% of the time. Absolutely, James. And I'll tell you, I'm going to show you what I'm working on. So here, check this out. So give this thing a second. All right. So this is that same chart. This is the same stock, but what I've done is I've overlaid the weekly. I'll show you what I've got on here. So I have weekly, buy, sell. So we're seeing the exact thing that we just saw. And then what I did was I did an overlap with just the auction zones. So I'm waiting for the auction zone to overlap on the 60-minute, and then in addition, be inside of a weekly zone. Okay, does it make sense? So I want my overlap. Okay. I want my auction zone to overlap with my market structure on the 60-minute. Okay, that's what this does. So it's requiring market structure on the 60-minute to line up with a 60-minute auction zone. Then, in addition, it needs to be with the weekly. That's what I've got on here. Okay. And then I have, this, don't be confused with the names. This was the original name of the indicator. I have my regular, just standard auction zone from the 60-minute on the chart. So what you're going to see is when you have a blue shaded region, that's where the overlap is. All of the other stuff are just regular buy sell zones. But the reason I did that is because I want to see stuff like this. Look, I'm in a weekly sell zone. And then if I get a fresh auction zone, does that work? I don't know. And this is actual, this just happened. This was, oh no, this is November. Yeah, so this is recent data. We can see, look, I mean, it doesn't look bad, guys, right? But I want it to be a fresh one. It can't be one that's already existing. Like up here, I would ignore that. I want a fresh one like this. And so looking through this chart, we can see, you can quickly get a sense for where you would engage and where you wouldn't. Like here, unfortunately, this auction zone printed first, so I would ignore that, but this one didn't. Here's a trade. Okay, now that's not an overlap, but it's still one I want to look at. Here's an overlap. Check that out. Here we have a red zone. You can see it just fails miserably up there. I mean, my gosh. And this is even in what time? This is in a very bullish market that we're in. I mean, look how well it plays off of these weekly structure zones, especially when you don't have anything below you. So just doing a quick scan. So this is one thing that we're going to be testing because I want to trade options off of this. Here is a blue zone, but I would never have an entry. It just goes right through. Same here, right through. Same here, right through. It looks like it comes into it here, but it doesn't actually touch it. So here's where, right? Do we want to trade here? I mean, I don't know. Like, you have a fresh sell zone and you're just bouncing between them. We'd have to see what the data tells us on that. Anyway, I've just been actually just scanning stocks whenever I get free time, just kind of looking through where do we have areas where I don't have any resistance above me. Like this would have been a perfect one. It just didn't come right back. It didn't come back to it, unfortunately. So I'm just doing a quick scan. So here's a fresh auction zone inside of a buy zone. You can see the result of that, but it's not an overlap, at least not by the standards that I'm using inside the indicator. Here's a beautiful one. And again, here's a situation where you look back here, I have nothing above me. Yeah, I know, man. I know, Chris. Trust me, dude. I live this life. Those gaps, I'll tell you what, man. It's not as bad as you think. Okay? Your winners, I mean, look at this, man. Look, if I make one change in here check this out. We're going to go to the overlap, and I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to make this a week. You're going to see this zone will now be blue here. There's your overlap, right? I know those gaps can be very scary. I've taken enough trades and I've tested enough to know that they don't even come close to making an impact on the profits that you generate. See, and here's one that actually benefits you, right? You get a gap directly below your overlap. But anyway, so the whole plan here, and this stock, MAT, I guess, whatever that is, it didn't have a lot of opportunities during this period that we're looking at. But it had enough, right? All we need are a handful of these every week, and you're in the money. Trading options off one of these, ideally, and I don't have the data for it yet, but ideally, this would be a quick win. Which, think about it this way. So here's what that looks like. I'm in here. I'm out here. Over here, my entry is going to be above this green bar, which makes it's a little bit higher for me than what I'd like, but that's what it looks like. I'm in here. I'm out. I'm risking, in this particular example, I'm risking $1 to make 6. I'm trying to make 3. So say that you're somebody who risks. For me, I'll just talk about the way I do it. I personally risk 0.5% in a trade. So whatever my account size is, I'm going to risk 50 basis points on that trade, which means in this scenario, I'm going for 1.5%. So here's a scenario. If I can find stocks like with this kind of a setup with nothing above them, and I know that I have an edge when I run the numbers, and my average trade, say, lasts a week, I'm able to find a handful of those a week, dude, you're talking about sizing up your account pretty damn fast. And it wouldn't really matter what size of an account you had. I mean, say it's 10 grand. You could really make a difference on that $10,000. Now, you'd be stuck trading stocks that option values supported your account size, but that wouldn't be hard to find. Anyway, just some ideas for you guys. I think we'll keep doing these. Maybe I don't know what our schedule will be, but I think it's helpful to come in here and let you guys ask some questions and just kind of get some ideas, because I know, look, I've been using this stuff for a long time. So for me, I can do this in my sleep. It's all new to you guys. And I want to make sure you're getting the most out of it. Any questions that I can answer for you guys tonight? Yeah, I mean, we're just getting started here, Alex. I'm actually really excited also about the futures. I'll show you one thing that we're testing real quick, and then we'll drop. But again, so one thing that I noticed was when you come into a zone, either buy zone or auction zone, we'll just look at areas where we don't have anything against us. So right here. And of course, this first one I'm going to look at is not going to hold water. But when I get a green bar, what I want to know is what does the next candle look like? Is it green or red? So in this example, it's red. So I've got green, then red. Then when I come in here, the next one, here's my green. I come into this zone here, green. My only point here is, couldn't you trade weekly options on this? Couldn't you sell an option spread? If you're inside of a weekly zone and you have data that supports the fact that there's a higher probability that that next week's going to be up, just 1 week, right? Just 1 week is all I'm asking. Can't I go in and sell a spread on that next week and just let it expire worthless? If in fact this does play out, right? Here, green, 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 green. Now, I would exactly, Alex, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Sell a put spread. I'm not going to go naked on a put. It's too much risk for me. But yeah, I would sell a put spread. Keep the premium. And the other thing I would require here, if I have a green candle like this, and I get this is successful, I'm not taking another one until price either equals or penetrates the low of that first green candle. So I wouldn't be taking any of these unless it came back down. But anyway, green, green, you can see green, green. And then for this zone, here's my low. And then we get green, green. And then we go through. Anyway, that we're gonna test that because I'm actually really curious. I think it'd be great for weekly options. All right, guys. Well, that's is this helpful? Do you guys? I mean, look, we talked about this in NinjaTrader. We want to build a community. Taylor just put a link in the room for the Discord. If you guys want, please go join the Discord. There's not a lot of action in there right now. I don't pop in there that much just because my days are extremely busy. But we would like to get on a somewhat regular cadence just to open the doors up, let people ask questions. I think the more the merrier, right? Whether, on the free version or pro, everybody's got styles that they're trading. Everybody has ideas, and we welcome them all. All right. That's all I got. If you guys have any questions for me, feel free to hit us up in Discord, or you can email me. Talk to you all later. Bye.
Thank you.